back, guys.
We are back.
Remove the starting screen. Boom.
Hello.
Zach, we need the name of the email as we cannot find it.
Donde? Por favor.
It's in the Sunday folder.
I am in the Sunday folder. Oh, look at that. I guess I just needed to load. Sorry, guys.
All right. So welcome back to our Patreon Live, guys. There's currently 102 of us, 107 of us. We normally don't have that many people on a Patreon Live, so this is exciting.
Welcome.
We are going to be doing a Zoom call email with a husband and a wife, which is the first time we've actually got to do this, I think.
I'm excited.
So that's exciting. And they should be on the chat. Zach said that we're good to go, and I trust that. So do you want to just jump right into it? You want to bullshit for a little bit? I mean, we've been bullshitting all night, so.
What is there to bullshit about?
I don't know. You just jump into the email?
Okay.
Okay.
So we're starting with the husband.
Okay.
Correct?
Yes.
Oh, that gave me a mini heart attack. Sorry, Jen. All right, husband. Thank you for taking the time to read this email. I'm going to skip the part where I ramble on about being your fan and all this.
Oh, stop it. Stop it. Come on, please stop it.
Keep going.
That's funny. I'll get my notebook out just in case.
Okay.
I'm listening. Go.
I'm sure you get an absurd amount of emails saying the same thing, but hopefully this one strikes differently. My wife, M, and I have a unique story. We met in 2012 while in college. I was working at a GNC with her then boyfriend. Her boyfriend moved in with me and my future ex-wife, H. We all became great friends and life happened. We all drifted apart. I got married and had 3 kids of my own. M had 1 kid of her own. H and her kept in touch over the years, and we remained friends. 2020 came, and H and I had divorced for reasons that could be a whole other discussion. M and I started talking slowly through Snapchat, and I went to visit her. We instantly had chemistry. We were inseparable from that point on.
Because there's already a foundation there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
2020 seems like so long ago.
You're not wrong. It does seem like a long time ago because a lot's happened in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
This has been the longest 4 years of my existence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Em and her son moved from a rather big town to a small town in southwest Colorado to be with me and my kids as I share 50-50 custody with her mom. Things were great. Looking back, yes, we did move rather quickly. I knew she was and always will be my soulmate. My ex-wife and her got along great. My kids adore her. And things were peachy. No pun intended? Question mark?
Peaches.
Right. We had our normal relationship problems. I'm a terrible communicator. She bottles up emotions and snaps. I have an unhealthy relationship with drugs and alcohol. We work through everything on our end. I quit drinking as it was the common variable to most of our fights. Are we talking like cocaine?
No. Mainly alcohol.
Okay.
At this point.
Can you read that line one more time, please?
The very last one?
Yes.
We work through everything on our end. I quit drinking as it was the common variable to most of our fights.
Okay, why was it the common variable? What was going on there? Because I think that's probably going to help in the email.
Yes.
I found, kind of when we first started talking, that was kind of the basis of when we hung out. You know, I'd go up, play beer pong, hang out. So drinking kind of was, I guess, to say the foundation of when we first started hanging out. But, you know, I've always had an unhealthy relationship with it. And we'd both drink and stuff we'd just get in fights over, I don't want to say nothing, but over a lot of things would stem from that. So, you know, I realized that wasn't healthy. So I, just quit completely.
How's that worked out for you?
It wasn't too bad. I mean, we my family, I mean, we have a lot of drinkers in our family, so I had to isolate myself from them
Okay.
quite a bit, I'd say, because if I went over there, we'd always drink, or I'd go up to my brothers, we'd always go over there, and then stuff would just kind of evolve around drinking, so I would have to isolate myself from them until I could not do that anymore. So we just started coming back around, knowing that I could be around that and not partake, I guess, so to
Okay.
say.
Was this a decision that you were able to make on your own, or did it have to be pointed out to you?
Um, I'd say I made it on my own for the most part.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Okay. Well, I
but
asked
it
because
got pointed out.
that matters. You being able to be honest with yourself goes a long way. So knowing that this was a problem for you and you had to isolate from your family and making the decision to do that is a strength. Like that's a strength inside of you, and like it's important to recognize those things and not downplay them. There's the only reason why I asked. That might be beneficial for other people to hear.
I mean, it was tough, definitely, but it had to be done,
Yeah.
and I knew it had to be done. So
Okay. All right, let's get back into the email, babe.
Okay. Em and I now have want. Have now want. Have's not. It's not even there.
Just making shit up over there.
I am. Em and I now want to have a child of our own, as we and her therapist will think it will be the missing link to our relationship.
I strongly disagree with that. I obviously don't know the whole detail, but
Right.
that I don't. You don't buy houses to save a marriage. You don't have kids to have a marriage to save a marriage. Like that's not the answer.
Right.
If that's something you guys want, that's a different story. But to do it for your marriage is not. That's not it.
For it to be the missing link.
Right.
It makes me uncomfortable.
Okay.
Don't know
yeah,
the background.
sorry.
No.
It was something that we definitely wanted and have been trying for a while, but her therapist said it would definitely help us have something in common to help bring us closer, kind of like a common link, some of ours.
Well, your therapist obviously has had more conversations with you than we have. I just don't like that verbiage.
Yeah, that.
To me, that sounds like I don't like that at all. It could be a me thing. It could be a trauma response. It could be a lived experience. I don't know yet.
Mm-hmm.
But having a baby to create a link that doesn't, it's not why you have a baby.
No.
Okay. let's continue because I'm actually very curious about this shit now.
Okay.
I'm invested.
After many unsuccessful natural attempts, we are doing IVF and have an embryo transfer scheduled for Wednesday.
Okay.
As of today, we are unsure if this relationship is something she can or is willing to do. For me, I'm all in. Wait. As of today, we are unsure if this relationship is something she can or is willing to do. Meaning you have like one foot out the door on this?
When I wrote this, I mean, this is like our last big, I don't want to say fight, but just disagreement. And yeah, she basically had one foot out the door, whether or not this is something she was wanting to put up with or do. So.
Em looks like she has a lot to say.
We'll get there.
Okay.
I think they're holding off so that we can do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just based on what is written, that concerns me. Because having a child is not like getting a bunny that you can just drop off at a shelter.
Right. Well, they make those mailboxes at fire stations now,
Yeah.
and apparently you can drop them off until they're 18. I don't know how you're going to fit them in the fucking box, but
Right.
yeah, sorry.
But there's a lot of emotions that go into that, and the guilt and the
Right.
shame and the judgment. And so I would, if that's the actual feeling and that is the true or the accurate description of the emotion being portrayed as you perceive, I would maybe reschedule the embryo transfer. or hold off, and if they can refreeze it, dope.
How long ago did you guys send this? I'm assuming it's been a while. Because we were like fucking 6 months behind at one point.
Yeah.
I think it was 2 days before Christmas, maybe.
Okay,
so
so
not entirely long ago.
Not that long.
Okay.
Go
No.
Patreon and Zoom calls.
Hey.
Fuck yeah, you skipped the line. All right.
Okay. However, I cannot blame her for how she feels and how she is doubting whether or not this can work. The common problem we have, it's always have. I wonder why that is.
You know, we end every podcast with "You're the author of your own life," so grab a pen and we'll see you on the next one.
Right.
You are apparently the author of their lives because you're just making shit up over there.
Huh.
Read the fucking paper, babe.
I'm trying. I don't pre-read these things.
Oh, man.
Okay. And take 2. The common problem we now have and can't work out is my ex-wife and her no longer talk. H is constantly crossing boundaries my wife set, is constantly blowing up my phone while we have the kids and don't have the kids. Okay. I could see why that would cause tension.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot. I unfortunately don't have to deal with this as my stepson's dad really isn't in the picture. I try to feel how my wife feels, but I never will. H and I strictly talk about the kids, but it's how much she does it and how much she doesn't trust me to get the kids to practice or this and that.
Have you shown in the past to be not responsible in those duties?
Good question.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's where a lot of it stems from.
Okay.
So,
Has that been corrected?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
tremendously.
Okay. Is
I
that
don't know whether or not she's seen that, but yeah, on my part, definitely.
Okay.
so the behavior's been corrected and she continues this continuous texting?
Yeah.
Okay, so me as the woman that I am, I view what H is doing as a vie for your attention, and you're giving that to her. Kids will get attention however they can, even if it means it's negative attention. And if a child does not learn how to communicate that attention, their bad behaviors are just going to mature and become more manipulative and vindictive. And it sounds like it's working. So I can see why M would be very standoffish about that. That would suck. Especially if it's interrupting dates or your quality time or you're supposed to be watching a movie together.
You said that your current wife and ex-wife don't speak anymore?
No, not so much anymore at all, really. Probably a year ago, she'd come over to the house, and then anytime my ex-wife would need something about the kids, she would contact my wife, and she didn't talk to me as much, and that worked out. And then
So why did that stop? Because that's where I was going with this.
yeah. Why did it stop? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Boundaries.
Just boundary things again. She we lived kind of far away from her, about a 30-minute drive, and that's when things were good. And then we bought a house in town, which was closer. So just stuff as far as like just walking in our house, not knocking, just expecting my wife to, pick up the kids when they're sick, kind of downplaying that her job wasn't as important as hers. Just because she works from home, she expected a lot out of us, and just not appreciative at all.
Okay.
So I definitely see why, So
Are you still okay? So it sounds like there's a lot of emotion invested in this.
yeah, definitely.
So what is the hang up for you? Like, what is keeping you from really setting the boundaries down? Is it fear? Is there an anxiety?
I think just personality. Just I hate conflict. I just fear of losing. Just her doing something with the kids, or just say, oh, you won't, I know it won't happen, but oh, you won't see him this much. Or, I think just a lot of guilt stemming from me not being there as much for them when I was with her, I guess.
Okay. So it's important to know that it's better to get along for the sake of getting along. Fear comes from not knowing what will happen, right? So this is where a lot of men get crippled. And I've lived this, so I'm telling you from experience, when you have that fear of what happens if we have to go back to court? Can I afford a lawyer to fight this? What happens if I don't get to see my kids anymore? That what if is fucking crippling. You hear fight or flight. There's also freeze and fawn. So when you have that freeze comes into play, because this isn't just like my problem. It's now my wife's problem, and my fucking kids are involved. So like now you're teetering a really thin line trying to appease multiple personalities and like trying to keep everyone kosher. And you can't do that. You have to figure out where the importance really is. And sometimes you have to buckle up for a fight. I don't like confrontation either. I can deal with it. And when it comes to violent confrontations, I'm great with that. But when it comes to emotional conflict, I don't like that shit because I have to turn off who I am to deal with that. And it's very hard for me to come back to me after the case. So knowing that you have these fears, you make a list of what your fears are. I might not see my kids as much. I may have to go to court again. I may have to see a lawyer, blah, 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 blah. Then figure out what steps you need to take first so that you can preemptive these things. So knowing that you may have to contact a lawyer, maybe you start reaching out and go, hey, what would it cost me to have my child custody reevaluated so that I can have it documented that I get my kids every other week or whatever the arrangement is. Because once that's in writing, it's a whole lot harder to argue. And if you are taking the steps and initiating that conflict, even though it's not conflict, you are in the driver's seat instead of riding in the back of the bus hoping that the bus doesn't crash, if that makes sense. We've both had to do that in life at different times. And it's easier to head things on when you are in control than when you are being served out of the blue thinking that everything is fucking great and then you get papers in the mail. So something to think about.
Back into the email.
Yes.
Okay. M's biggest issue is H expects stuff, doesn't ask, and doesn't say thank you.
Hold on, before you get back to that, if anybody ever walks into our house and doesn't knock or doesn't let us know they're coming, they're going to be met with a gun in their face. I don't give a fuck who they are. I have security cameras around my property, and I'm going to see you coming before you get to the door. I'm going to do it anyways. Just prove a point. Oh, shit. Didn't know you were coming. Should have called. I could have fucking killed you. I don't know what state you're in. In Florida, that's legal. Even with my security cameras. Be like, I was getting out of the shower. I was naked. I heard the door open. My wife was at work, so I grabbed my gun. Thought I was being robbed. It's not, I'm not saying to do that. I'm not by any means saying to do that. I'm saying that those kind of situations are very real. And her just entering your house unannounced is dangerous. And that's the conversation that needs to be had. I don't know if you have.
Does that happen?
What? He said that the email said that she's entered their home without calling or knocking. That she just walked into their house.
Did I disassociate?
I don't know. You did say that in the email, right? I'm not making that up.
I don't know if I said it in the email, but yeah, I mean, I brought it up.
Okay.
But she actually just come in unannounced.
A lot. Not just a couple times, but like for over a year.
Yeah.
Great Wolf Tactical said dog's going to get them too. Real shit, when we have our dog, I will let her loose on somebody for coming in our house unannounced. Because you're a threat at that point. I don't fucking know who you are. Granted, I can see everyone on the cameras. We have 360 around our house, but Steven said that he's pulled on his family a couple times. You don't do that. I don't care who you are. So you guys, everybody knows that I'm a fan of Mark Driscoll. He just did a sermon last night where he was talking about how his family has access to his home. Kids can come in unannounced, but he doesn't ever do that to them. And that's the extent of people being able to come into your house. Your kids should always be able to come home, but nobody else should be able to enter your home like that. So, denied.
I think someone just knocked.
I don't know. I'm going to grab a drink real quick. Hang on.
Okay. Ooh, can you grab me one too? I'm parched.
They're only energy drinks.
Cool.
All the caffeine.
Ooh, is that the blue candy one?
The mango one.
Oh, you got the
Tropical
mango.
mango. It's not as cold as the Swedish fish one. You try it anyways. I'll open it and taste it. If you don't like it, you can have mine.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't like mango.
No?
Just learned that.
How unfortunate.
Thoughts? I don't like mango. Didn't know that until just now.
It's very syrupy.
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't
You
like
you want my Swedish fish?
Well, not if you have to drink that. I don't want you to suffer.
I've been eating prison food for years. I don't fucking worry about it. I just don't like mango.
I love the sacrifices you make for me. Thank you. It's appreciated
Okay.
deeply.
Let's get back to the email. Quit fawning over me. Get back to the other 3 Fs. Get your head out of the gutter.
Elaborate. I'm so confused.
Fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. So quit fawning over me.
So I don't
Get
wanna,
back to the
I don't
other
wanna
3
do
Fs.
The other 3.
And then I was going to get dirty. Let's just get back to the email. Pay attention, woman.
Fuck. I'm trying.
Can I just add something real quick, if you guys don't mind?
Sure.
I just think I'm not defending my ex-wife in any way, but I think a lot of the just the coming in and just doing whatever she wants stems from her being my wife's friend for so long. You know, they're really good friends, so I think a lot of it has to do with that too, and just comfortability of them being so close at one point.
That was an
So.
excuse.
Yeah, it was an excuse. Have both of you set the boundaries down?
So I've expressed it to him from basically day one. I talk about that in my email. I myself have never said it to her. I've asked him to,
Okay.
and it took probably about 2 years for him to finally say it to her. And I think that's just from his, not liking confrontation.
Okay. So I take
But
back what I said about the excuse thing. I don't mean to cut you off, but that does come down to you had a relationship with her first, right?
Mhm.
And then you put a position on him where he had to deal with something that you should have dealt with because you had that relationship with her. And if she was able to come into your house before you guys got married and she could just freely come in and out because you're best friends or were best friends, that should have been a you thing to stop. Like, hey, I'm married now. We could be fucking. Like, you can't just come into the house like that. You need to give me a heads up.
So we were friends. We were friends for, as long as I've known him, but I lived like 4 hours away and we would see each other every few years. So we spoke a lot and we'd hang out, every couple of years or so, but never close enough that, she could just walk in, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, that boundary should have been set the first time that it happened. And it could have been done in a non-aggressive manner. Be like, hey, I'm glad that you're here, but you got to announce yourself next time. Don't just walk into our house. Like, that's dangerous. Like, I didn't know you were coming, and I could have attacked you. I could have hit you with a baseball bat. I didn't know that you were going to be here, kind of thing.
Did she have a key, or did you guys just leave your door unlocked?
We live in a small enough town. I mean, we just always leave it unlocked, and
God, I missed that.
we are armed if anything does happen. So, yeah.
That terrifies me.
Oh, it was the best life I've ever lived.
I believe it.
Yep. Love small town living.
I want to live on a massive acreage of land and wake up to the view of mountains and mist.
This comes to her thinking that there's a lot more there than there is. And this is one of those things that can be resolved with simple communication that doesn't have to be conflict. I don't know if the email says that that's been stopped or not, but I don't want to harp on that too much because we've already addressed it. But
Want me to continue?
yes, please.
All right. Mind you, my ex is a therapist and should be level-headed and see eye to eye, but she's not the brightest light on the Christmas tree. Em and I have learned so much from your podcast, and she has been listening to you both since day one. She'll always have every live up on TikTok and know what's going on with To Be Better. She's watching Peaches make soup as I'm writing this. Oh, hell yeah. Did you make the soup?
No, I didn't. I just watched you.
What did you think about it? Was it okay? Was it enjoyable?
I think so. I mean, he's the chef, so
It was great.
yeah.
Dope.
He's only saying that because he's not confrontational.
Yeah, exactly. He's such a people pleaser. So
That tickled me that you guys watched it. That's awesome. Thank you.
thank you guys.
Also, thank you guys for taking the time out of your night to do this.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
No, thank you. We're so happy that
Yeah.
you got us in so quick, to be honest.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
want to put precedence on people that are willing to sit down together to resolve their problems, because this is a lot more thorough having both of you here, because it's not one-sided. If she sees something or he sees something different than what's in the email, we're going to get to talk about it.
Yeah.
And that's how we find the actual center. So
Alrighty. To be quite honest, I don't really know where I'm going with this email other than thank you guys for helping us out on this journey. Truly, it would mean the world if we could set up a meeting with you guys and get your take and perspective on everything.
ta-da.
It happens. Talk about manifestation.
Yeah.
I was thinking of couples therapy, but to be honest, your guys' thoughts would mean more. I hope you, Peaches, and the kids have a Merry Christmas. Again, I appreciate you for even taking the time to read this.
So there wasn't a lot there.
Right.
It sounds like the biggest issue in all of this is the ex-wife overstepping things.
Yes.
And my answer to this normally would be to have your wife deal with the ex-wife. And I say that because that's how we had to start the co-parenting. It was you dealing with his woman to like
Correct.
co-parent effectively. And now all four of us talk and like we have a friendship now, but like that's what had to establish first to be able to get to the point where we are.
That was the beginning of the solid foundation.
Right. But if that's not an option and that's not something that M is willing to do, then there needs to be a very clear set boundaries. And if that's an email that's sent, if you don't want to have the actual conversation, even if you don't want to do it via text, because I personally don't like that, I would still write it out and revise it a couple times and read it and get your points across so that when you have the conversation, it's logic brain and not emotional or fear-based. If you are afraid of her taking the kids or affecting your visits or however that's laid out, that needs to be addressed as well. And you can get ahead of that by actually having court set up. And depending on what state you live in, it's no longer, in a lot of states, especially in Florida, it's no longer assumed that the mother is the right parent. You actually have to prove that the other person is unfit in order for that to be a thing. So if you're in the state of Florida, for anybody that's listening, and you have issues with custody, and this is, and your custody papers were signed before this law changed, you can go back to court and say they have to prove that I'm not fit. And if you make more money, you have a more stable home, you're not like, in and out of rehab or whatever, jail, losing your job, you can get 50-50 custody. So it's become a lot easier. The court systems are starting to realize that men need to be in the picture finally after fucking 50 years. That's a thing. So I guess we should get her email and then maybe make an assessment, because it really sounds to me like the ex-wife is the problem.
Okay.
I have a lot more detail in mind, probably too much, but it'll kind of complete the picture, I think.
Okay.
Hello, Chris and Peaches. My husband Z wrote a few days ago giving a little backstory on our situation. It's an interesting one, but a beautiful one. We met 11 years ago. My then boyfriend and him started working together and they became good friends. They moved in together eventually, so it was them two and Z's girlfriend of many years. I lived in my college dorms, but was constantly over there. The four of us would do a lot together, and I was always so attracted to Z's energy. I loved being around him, but had no intimate feelings about it. I loved his girlfriend, and after years of us going our separate ways, my boyfriend and I broke up. I then had and raised my son by myself. I always stayed in touch with both Z and H. They had a son a month or two before my son was born, so I would often visit them and we would keep in touch and let the boys play. They went on to have 2 more kids before getting a divorce. Z and I started talking again, and I asked how his wife and kids were. He informed me that they had divorced. That was that, and we remained friendly. About 6 months passed, and I get the urge to reach out to him one night to see how he is. That then spiraled to him driving up to visit me a few weeks later, where we shared our first kiss. To say it was magical is an understatement. It was the most intimate moment of my life. Oh, I'm not going to cry. Stop it.
It's not a podcast that you cry, babe. I would like to point out for those of you who can't see what's going on, they actually have their camera on and we can see them. And she looks at him the way that you look at me. So I don't believe she's got one foot out the door. I think she's just desperate for change.
The anticipation and the excitement. And the butterflies. Thank you for sharing that. Gotta get it together. Even though it took place during a game of beer pong as we were leaning on a trash can. Oh, hell yeah. I'm really good at beer pong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you believe that I've never played? Not a single game.
No. That's wild. How? You partied so much.
Yeah, well, when I was, when you're fucking eating psychedelics, beer pong is not on the party menu.
Huh.
And when I was drinking, it was always at bars or at parties. That beer pong wasn't a thing. Like, it was
That's wild.
different friend groups. That's frat boy shit. Oh, a bunch of fucking criminals.
Yeah. What different life experiences.
I know, right? Just like you've never ridden a bike down steps.
Terrifying.
How's that not a Anyways, get back to the email.
I'm willing to try, though.
Yeah.
I'm getting good at standing. Okay. From there, things went very fast. He lived 4 hours south of me, and the long distance absolutely destroyed us both.
Feel that.
What do you mean?
I couldn't do it. I don't like it when you go to the like, I'm going to go get my nails done. Woman, it's been 2 hours.
Where are you?
You only got 10 fingernails. Fuck is taking so long. It'd be like that.
It was so great. We lived like 5 minutes apart.
Yeah.
And you're like, I hate this. You're too far.
Yeah.
My son and I would go down every other weekend. Every other weekend. Ooh, that was a lot. And he and his kids would come up the other weekends.
Okay.
Oh, we got a little pattern going on, as our son would say. We both would just sob the entire drive home, knowing we'd have to go another week without seeing each other. We FaceTimed, texted, and called all week long, but it wasn't enough. A month after this, he asked me to be his girlfriend. Let me backtrack. After Z and I realized how much we were into each other, I really wanted H's permission. Her and I were still quite close, and I just didn't want this to be an issue with our friendship. Z talked to her about it, and she was so on board for us. I think it helped her knowing that I knew her kids so well, and it wasn't a stranger just coming into their lives.
Okay, I have to pause you.
Okay.
I respect that.
Me too.
But
Okay.
in the event that she said, I'm not with this, would you have been willing to give up the rest of your life to make a third party happy?
Probably not, but it really influenced my decision to move here rather than him move to where I lived.
Okay.
If that
Okay.
clarifies it.
Okay, I asked that because we had a similar situation.
Yeah.
Peaches dated somebody that I considered a brother for, what, a year, 2 years, something like that?
A year.
A year.
Yearish.
And when we had our first date, well, what felt like the first date, I called him and I'm like, bro, I need to be honest with you. Like, we just had dinner and it felt like a date and I'm probably going to hook up with your ex. Like, this is not a sex thing. Like, this is going to become a relationship. And he's like, okay, man, I appreciate the call. And then he didn't speak to me for a year. And then we talked a little bit and like, we're, I guess, okay kind of now, but I got to be honest, I don't give a fuck if he had a problem with it. Like, that first date was amazing and I felt really fucking good about where we were going. And I'm not going to give up my happiness and the potentiality for me to have a dope fucking rest of my life because somebody else fucked theirs up. You know what I mean? Like, if they could have held on to that, they could have held on to that and they didn't. So that's not, I don't know, that changed my whole perception on what exes have rights to and like the way that bromance thing goes when it comes to like friends that were, chasing after other people. It'll destroy friendships.
Yeah.
And if it's just a booty call, it's not worth it. But if there's actually sustenance there and you think that it's going to be long lasting, it's worth destroying that friendship. Yep. Yeah. Okay, back to the email.
Back to the email. With that permission, and now being his girlfriend, I was ready to pack my things and make the big move. I packed and moved my son and myself and took a travel nursing job in the town over. Oh, pardon me. I just chugged a lot of energy drink. My job made a lot more than his at the time. Oh, I just skipped over a whole thing. Z was basically a stay-at-home dad as my hours were long. My job made a lot more than his at the time, so financially it made sense for me to work and him to stay home. I was the breadwinner for about a year and a half. Z started his own contracting company last year, and I work as a triage nurse from home.
I love everything about that.
Right? That's super dope.
Wait, before you go on, how pivotal was it, that downtime, to you becoming a contractor or getting your contractor license? Could you have done it without the downtime?
Well, can I have done it without the downtime
Yeah.
of like being just all the time at home?
Right.
How
pivotal was that? Because, okay, I'm gonna just give you my thought process, and then you can tell me if I'm right or wrong. Do you think that the downtime allowed you to get your contracting license and business set up in that year time frame, and without that downtime would it have taken you 5 years, 10 years, or do you think that you would have not done it at all? Because having downtime gives us time to reflect and plan and then attack, right? How would that
it's
look?
very pivotal. I don't know that I would even do it at all. So
Okay.
It is very helpful. Yeah.
This is what marriage is, guys. Not just you guys, but like everybody that's listening right now. This is what I talk about constantly. If you have a woman in your corner, you are unfucking fadeable. You can do anything that you want. You just need to have somebody that believes in you and is willing to give you that little bit of a push, right? And though you didn't say that that's what's happened, that downtime, you just admitted that without that downtime, it wouldn't have happened. So that's exactly what it was, in my opinion. So that was, I needed to clear that up.
I agree.
You can proceed, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. If we want to get fancy, we're going to say merci beaucoup.
Yeah, you can keep that French. I don't understand all that yet. I'm working on it. Through you, as you tell me what it says.
I know, I'm doing it out loud next to you.
Yeah, hoping it'll stick.
We are learning together at this point. Which reminds me, we have to do that when we get home.
Don't want to lose your badge.
I know, I can't. We have come to face a handful of issues, however, issues that have made me start therapy and start anxiety meds. All right. I'm not saying this because I think you're stupid. I just want to say this because the information's good. Anxiety meds are not the cure-all. Anxiety meds are to alleviate the emotions you're going through to process the hard things. Yep. Eventually, your body will become accustomed to the anxiety meds and your anxiety will skyrocket, or you'll be like, oh, I'm doing really dope. I don't need these meds anymore. And then you'll crash.
I take them, so they're not daily. I just take them when I need them. And sometimes that's once daily. A month. No, not daily. Sometimes that's once a month. Or sometimes it's once a week. It kind of varies, but it helps within like half an hour. But yeah, I definitely hear what you're saying.
That's super dope. Our relationship has its up and downs. Z checked boxes I didn't even know that I had. Oh, I get that. After I had my son, I stayed single until Z and I started dating. So about 6 years of just my son and I. Moving so abruptly really rocked my world and my son's. He went from a single child to now having 3 other children present that he'd have to share me with. He had to start following. Oh, whoa. I just skipped a whole sentence. He also now had a father figure involved that had rules that he had to start following. My son is a sweet, sweet boy, but he definitely ruled the roost when it was just him and I. I too was now financially responsible for 4 more people. I was also helping raise a 9-month-old baby, so diapers and formula and clothes, etc. were all my responsibility, and I was essentially starting over again with sleepless nights. I also was in a co-parenting situation which I had zero experience with. Ugh, that's a lot. Our son, as young as he was, definitely had an attitude because I babied the hell out of him.
Yeah, and I don't play that shit.
And when we moved in together, it broke my heart a little bit
Why?
because I don't like seeing him upset. He's my baby, but I know that he can't do those behaviors. He has to have the structure and knowing that if you do that, there's consequences. He can't run to me when he's 30. That was a hard thing for me to overcome mentally, especially me being worried about abusing. Because of my childhood, I don't want to. I think from going to the extreme of abuse and neglect, I'm going to helicopter parent and over pampering. Over correction, you could say.
Was it hard for you to let me take over the reins at the house? Because you've never once questioned what I was doing.
Right, no, I haven't. Logically, no, it wasn't hard for me. I knew if at any point I stepped in, you would never do that again. And I appreciate who you are as a man. That's why I married you. So I never wanted to place doubt in you because I'm having anxieties within myself.
Okay.
Yeah. So logically, no, it wasn't hard for me. Emotionally, I was a mess.
Well, you did really good at keeping that shit to yourself because I didn't know that was a thing.
Thank you. I worked very hard on it. At first, things were good, but his ex-wife was present for Thanksgiving and then Christmas, and then also went on their family vacation. And then also went on their family, like both of you went on their family vacation?
Yeah, his entire family and her and then me.
Okay.
So she was present, yeah.
Okay. That's a lot. A lot of interaction. Was there a bad falling out?
Yes. Maybe a month ago. I do get to that in the email, but yes.
Well, at this point where she's present for everything and she's going on vacation with you guys.
No, we were still like chummy. She had been, coming into the house, doing little things like that kind of perked my ears in a way that I was like, this doesn't feel right, I guess.
So you were
So that had been going on, but we were on good terms. Yeah, I thought it was weird that she was, at all these things.
You guys keep reading. I have a whole lot of opinions and thoughts, but I don't want to jump to conclusions. But I have a feeling that I know where this is going.
Okay. I'm sorry if I triggered you being upset. I started to feel like my son and I were just on the outside. She would also just walk into our house on pickups or drop-offs. We wouldn't even know that she was present until we would hear her in the living room. I started expressing my concerns to Z about both of us needing to set boundaries with her to make me feel more comfortable. But it seemed like he didn't communicate them clearly with her because she continued to cross them. Another issue I ran into was the sense of entitlement from her. I believe it is a privilege to be able to assume someone is going to do something for you, and I myself have never had that privilege. A few examples: when the kids were/are sick and need to be picked up from school, she calls Z or myself and tells us they need to be picked up and can't return for X amount of days, and she can't take that off of work, meaning her schedule, job, and an income is more important than ours. On days that aren't our scheduled days, we have them 50-50. She just assumes we can take them or that his parents will watch them.
I'm listening.
Right.
I'm listening.
I'm processing because that's a lot. There's a lot of inflation of self-importance and all of that, I suppose. I recently had to rearrange our schedule with the kids. I took away one day, but added an extra day to that week. So that we could drive my son 4 hours north to see his dad. I told her this, and for weeks after, she would still text Z to come get the kids on days that were in accordance to the old schedule because it didn't work for her. He stood his ground and said, well, that's what is going to have to work because we've accommodated to your schedule the past 2 years. To this, she threatened child support / court. That's sickening to me.
Okay, so earlier when I addressed that, I stand by that. And that's one of the notes that I was about to make. I'll wait until you're done. I'm not going to do that because this might get answered. I made a note. Just wait until you're done.
Okay. Oh, that drink is so sour.
It's better than this mango shit.
You're right. Yeah. She takes the kids to do stuff on her time and will ask him for money to buy popcorn / items. We pay for all their clothing / food and amenities while they are with us and never ask her to pay for anything that we take them to do. We pay for half of the sports, half of the gear, half of the school pictures, literally half of everything for 3 children. But she will even buy non-essentials and just schedule it in. What Z owes her that month normally is just half of daycare. Oh, this sounds exhausting.
It's because there's not a structure set up.
Right.
Right. So this comes down to it's on a whim because nothing has been ordered. We'll come back to that. There's a lot to this.
The last and final straw that has really put me over the edge is the constant communication. She will call and text most every single day that we have them or that she has them. 99% of these correspondence are not important. Yes, they are about the kids, and yes, I'm all for communication and co-parenting. But it got to the point where she would call us at 8 a.m. on Saturday to tell us that one of the kids wants to wear their purple shoes to school the following week. I think the kid could communicate that. I tell the children, go get dressed, go wear what you want to wear.
Right. So you guys, I'm assuming that there are bedrooms at both parents, and that wardrobes are set, right? Like everything is so enmeshed with our co-parenting that we'll buy clothes and never see them again, or they will buy clothes and never see them again because kids are like that. Is that the case for you guys?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Well,
So
it's been more recent, or we'll send them in the clothes back to what she brought them in, so we can see our clothes again.
Okay.
You know?
Well, then that's not a problem. The question that I was going to have from that, though, is in the event that they want to wear the purple shoes to school on the next week, is that a week that she has the kids or a week that you have the kids? And where are the purple shoes?
So that was just like an exaggeration of what she calls for.
Okay.
So there really are no purple shoes, but like she will call at 8 a.m. to tell him that the sky is blue, or like 7 a.m. Like it's that drastic. But we have them 50-50.
Okay.
And just recently I've changed the schedule, but we still have them about the same amount of days. But yeah, that was just like an exaggeration of the tiny things that she does contact him for every day.
So she's definitely overreaching.
Yeah.
In my opinion, yes.
No, she is. She's overstepping things to get attention. It sounds to me like she's lonely and she's unaware of her behavior.
Right.
Okay. I'm not going to delve any further. I want to hear the rest of this because.
So in our co-parenting situation, the kid's father is my ex-husband. And out of respect, I communicate with his woman.
Right.
And her and I have developed a really dope friendship. one of my best friends.
Yeah.
And I still talk to my ex-husband. I send him photos of the kids and he sends me pictures and we talk about their dope days. But if I go a week without hearing from him, I'm not panicking. I'm not worried. I'm not
Right.
up his ass about things. We still have cordial conversations. That's definitely, like you said, an overreach.
Yeah.
And then every day after, she would send a reminder text. I just feel smothered and insignificant. Why do you feel insignificant?
Because she's being cut out of this. They're removing her from this. Not, I don't mean him, they. I mean the other woman. The woman is removing her from all of this and inserting herself into their home where she has no place to be.
Okay.
If she was to reach out to this woman and be like, "Hey, kids want to wear purple shoes on Thursday to school next week. I'm gonna make sure that they have them. Don't forget." He doesn't need to be involved in that conversation because she's now stepped into that mother role, and as that would dwindle that communication down quite a bit. It's not
Right.
about the kids. It's not about what the kids want to wear to school or what color the sky is. It's about a reason for her to contact him to be like, "Hey, I'm still the fucking queen bitch around here." Right?
Right.
That's what's going on here. I believe that's what's happening.
Yeah, it's a kind of show of dominance.
Right. Yep.
And that's how they were at one point. And I was completely out of it, which took the burden off me too. And they just dealt with little stuff like that.
Yeah. So what changed? Where was it the falling out between the two of you that changed that?
Yeah, slowly. These small things that she was doing, like continuously coming into our house at every pickup or drop off, like those little things kind of started to make me resent her.
Okay.
And sorry.
You're good. While you pull yourself together, I would like to point out that we don't allow people in our home without an invite. So even when dad comes and picks the kids up, or his woman comes and picks the kids up, we open the door and meet them on the porch.
Yep.
When you first moved in with me, I was like, you need to call him and have him come check out the house so that he can see that the kids are safe. They've got bunk beds, like we did the whole thing, because I wanted him to be invited into the home to see that the kids were safe. Beyond that, people have to be invited into our home. I don't care who you are. You're not coming through that threshold unless I invite you. So that's a problem. And that needs to be addressed immediately, because if she was coming in to just check on things, to see how things were going, like, hey, is there a roach infestation? Do you guys have bed bugs? Is there like food in the refrigerator? Like, that's a wellness check. That's a different scenario than just popping in and hang out in the living room watching TV and fucking putting your feet on the coffee table. Like, so that is something that needs to be addressed and stopped. Like, text me when you're on the block, I'll meet you out front kind of shit.
And that's what it is now, because I say it in the email, but I was kind of forced to text her myself. And like, I'm sorry.
You're good.
It's okay.
I felt like I was like the only one that had my back.
She's obviously hurt because I didn't step up when I should have and said something.
Yeah, I had to text her myself in a situation that I think he should have. And like, when you talk about like being in your masculine and your feminine and stuff, like I told him this today, like that was a situation where like he could lead, and he knew my boundaries and my expectations, and could have like proven so much in just a text back to her. And he didn't want to, or couldn't, or had that fear of, her retaliating. And that happened so many times where he wouldn't do something. And finally I was like, it's either I set the boundaries myself, and I've told him there's ways to communicate all of this nicely. Like, it doesn't have to be mean or confrontational. But it got to a point that I just had to do it. And I sent her a really long text, and she didn't text back. And we haven't talked since. And now, he meets her on the driveway when she drops off the kids. And there's no communication with me anymore. I've really took myself out of the picture. But we have a very nice house, and we take really good care of the kids. I treat his kids like my own, if not better. I've from day one, I've gone like above and beyond for his kids. And so all of the instances where she's overstepping and overreaching, she can say it's a trust issue. Like, he hasn't been trustful in the past, but she's a therapist and she's smart. And I think it's coming from a nasty place. And she also has a significant other, and he's got kids of his own. And so it's like, God, being a therapist and being in my situation yourself, like, how do you not see this? And so I had to say something, and it completely ruined our friendship. But now I'm still stuck in this town, and she works across the street from us. We see her. I see her all the time. Like, I could leave right now and probably see her because the town is so small. And so I'm just so smothered, and I'm, feeling like I'm the only one in my corner. I've earned that respect, and nobody's really giving it to me.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions. First, I'm going to touch on the respect thing. Your honor and integrity is a you thing, right? So you know that you like, I know who I was in life, and I know who I am now, and who I was doesn't exist anymore, and I'm proud of the man I am, right? I don't give a fuck if anybody else is proud of me, because I've done the work and I love me. I respect me. I have integrity. I don't need anybody else to validate that. So if you know that's who you are, that's all you need to know. Fuck everything else that goes on in life, because you know that you have done the honorable thing. That's all that matters, right? Because you can't control the others' opinions of you, and others' opinions of you isn't going to dictate the outcome of your life. Your decisions are, first and foremost. I understand the want of validating the effort, right? And what I mean by that is, like, you want people to see the hard work. We want that acknowledgement of, I'm helping raise your children, right? Honor that. Fucking show me a little bit of respect. We want that. The kids are going to see that. The kids are going to come to you at some point in their life and go, hey, I know that things were difficult and you stepped in when other people would not have, and we appreciate that. That needs to be your silver lining in all of this. And knowing that this is the end of our podcast, the episode that we just had. Mm-hmm. I am getting to live a life that I would have not had because of these kids. And like, I feel good about that. So fuck what everybody else has to say, right? The other thing in this, and I wrote this down earlier when you were talking, I know that you wanted him to step up and lead. There's been a lot of conversations that were between the two of you, and I'm sure that you wanted him to have with her. So I know that we're not getting all of the details. However, I feel like because you had a friendship with her before the two of you met, you should have said something when she started overstepping boundaries as like, hey, this is not okay. And then if it continued at that point, he should have stepped in and said, like, look, my wife has already told you we're not okay with this. You got to cut this shit out. And like, that's where that comes from. I also understand his perspective in this, and that it's very hard for us to try to keep the peace and everything and keep everyone happy, especially if you're a people pleaser, because you don't want to rock the boat. You don't want to compromise the time that you get with your kids. And that is a very real thing for a lot of people. So you need to have a little bit of grace with him, and that you wanted him to say something and he didn't right away. There could have been a lot of conversations that could have like maybe changed the outcome. I wasn't present for any of those things. But this is where grace comes into play, because most men, after 1 year of not being with their wife, lose their children altogether. They don't see them anymore. It becomes a Christmas card or a birthday card for a couple of years, and then they're completely out of their lives. So if you have a man that is trying to be present in his children's life as a bonus parent in that, you need to try to be as supportive as you can, because he's in a position that most men don't have. I know men who have gone to court and fought to try to get custody of their kids or to have court-ordered visitation and have lost because they didn't have financial resources or whatever the case was. And a lot of men won't even try. So from a man's standpoint, it's important to have a woman understand that it's very fucking hard for us. And I know that a lot of women out there will be like, men don't fucking try. They just don't want to pay their child support. Therefore, they try to make excuses, whatever. That's not all men. There are a lot of fucking men out there who can't see their kids and they want to. I've seen it. I know people who have had their kids fucking ripped from them, who have been given custody and then had it taken back because the mother got out of jail. Like, it's fucking hard. Men have a very difficult time in this world. I don't give a fuck what anybody says in terms of the narrative. I've seen it. I've experienced it. So in that scenario, I do feel like you should have said something to her first, because you had that relationship with her and it could have been a your perspective situation, and maybe like, hey, don't come in the house. You know, you scared us the first time you did that, whatever the case was. There could have been a way for you to do that in your verbiage. And then if she overstepped at that point, it would have been his ability to step in and lead and shut that shit down.
Is that how that happened?
What do you mean?
Like,
No.
were you guys friends before him and H got together? Or did you meet her through him?
Yeah, we basically, I met him the same night I met her, and her and I we would go to the gym. We hung out for years.
Were they already together?
Yeah, they were already together. That's how I met her. So it was awkward, you know, being her friend that's now dating her ex-husband. But we were able to joke about it, and you know, we hung out quite a bit in the beginning. But I didn't want, like, being a stepmom, you're already kind of like the bad guy. Like, you're expected to do a lot, but you're not. It's just such a like thankless job. Like, I don't know how to phrase it. I didn't see it as my place to step on toes by inserting myself and being like, oh, by the way, these are our boundaries. Like, I wanted, and yeah, you're right. Maybe I should have, but I just, like, they were married. He's the one she talks to every day. I just felt like that was something that he could have easily said. And it took like 2 years for him to say something, but
So
that just recently stopped her walking in.
Well, it's good that it stopped. In the scenario where you were not playing mediator between him and her, and you guys had kind of a friendship in the beginning before, you know, you two, before the divorce or whatever, and you were just in the side shadows of things, waiting, you know, not being active in that makes sense. I'm rambling.
Okay.
If you were not mediator, we'll just stop at that. And he was the one that was dealing with everything, and you were like, hey, these boundaries are being crossed. I need you to step in and say X, Y, Z, or put a stop to it. However, that would have been a different scenario to me. Because you were involved in this, I'm trying to put myself in their shoes.
Yeah.
If your ex was doing something that I didn't like, I would probably ask you, I would have asked you, like, hey, can you correct that behavior? Because that's the relationship. Mm-hmm. I now have a relationship with him. And if he did something I disagree with, I would just message him and be like, bro, I respect you as a man. Mm-hmm. I don't think this is the move. Like, yeah. I think that maybe we should try something else. There's something I can help you with. Like, I would interject myself now because there's that relationship. But if that relationship wasn't there, I'd be like, I need you to get
right.
him.
And that has happened.
Right.
And I've had to have some very uncomfortable conversations for me because I am terrified of the worst possible outcome.
And that's what Z is going through.
And I make myself sick over it. Like, I will stop eating. I can't stop crying. I'm worried about 50 million things at once. I'm like Doctor Strange with that shit.
Yeah.
And losing you was more terrifying than having those conversations. When you do it enough times and you figure out how to communicate and you know what their triggers are and you're able to avoid the landmines, there becomes an ease of things like, okay, the world's not going to end. Okay, everything's okay now. It's okay to set this boundary. Even if they get a little bit mad, there's no weight behind their words at this point.
Right.
If they wanted to, they would have already.
Yeah. There's also a fear on the other parent side of things as well, right? Like you have to keep in mind that it's not just your reality. There's four realities in our life, right? Not including the kids, just between the
Right.
two parents. There's four realities. And we're all going to see situations vastly different because of lived experiences. And there were times where you were having arguments with him and I'm like, why are you worried? Like, what do you have to worry about? In a worst case scenario, absolute worst case, he tries to take you to court. I will go broke in lawyers if that's what it takes to make sure that we're okay. If a fight is coming, I'll fight the fight if that's what has to happen. If I can avoid the conflict, I would rather avoid the conflict. But I'm not going to allow us to have a disruption in our life because there's a miscommunication or somebody might get butt hurt. That shit will pass. We don't owe anyone anything anymore. You're not married to him. I'm not married to my ex. Like, our life is now this, theirs is that, and we don't have to cater to those things. And I told you at one point that if it came down to it and custody battles had to happen, we can do that. I don't want to do that. I think he's a great dad. I think that you guys just need to figure your shit out, and that'll be that. But if we have to go to war, fuck it, we'll go to war. That's where the grace comes in, right? So we had a similar situation to this because I didn't have a relationship with him. I had to have you have those conversations because if I had those conversations, he would posture. And that I'm not the one time that came about, there was almost violence in the house. Like, I don't want that. He didn't want that. He left, like, and it was a weird fucking, like, almost year. You know what I mean? So there is a balance that has to be had. And sometimes things are not going to go well and you have to have grace with people.
Yep.
Yeah, one of actually the first podcasts that I listened to of you guys, which is initially what got me hooked. It was just a snippet, maybe 15 minutes of you talking about co-parenting and like the respect that has to go into it. And I heard that at like 3 a.m. when I was working overnight, and I literally went home and I was like, you have to listen to this podcast. Like, they literally talk about what I'm trying to tell you. And so, yeah, it's nice hearing, not having my feelings validated, but kind of hearing this isn't that rare. Yeah, that I'm not the only one.
It's not uncommon.
It's not.
Most people would love to be able to go parent, right? There's always going to be that obstacle. Until that obstacle is worked out, it's not going to work. I would also like to point out that if she's a therapist, she's going to be able to manipulate. And there's not going to be, right, there's not going to be anything that you can do to correct that. And because she's a therapist, in the event that things go bad, she's going to use that to her advantage. And there's going to be colleagues that get involved, and like things can get very ugly. And that's something that you might want to be prepared for if you guys are going to actually do something. Are we done with the email?
No.
Okay, let's go back to that because we're really side railed.
Okay.
I have notes.
Okay. I moved my entire life down here, left all my family and friends, financially help in raising kids that are not mine, take very good care of them, have lost that one-on-one time with my son, and my boundaries just don't matter. Z communicated to her that he doesn't need to hear from her every day, as it's causing issues within our marriage, to which she responded that it sounds like I'm insecure. And yeah, maybe I am, not in the sense that he would leave me for her, but that no matter what I do, say, attribute to our family, she still wins at the end of the day.
Okay, so the answer to that email or that text message or however that came about, even if you were insecure and that was the problem, and she was to say that, the answer to that is, it doesn't matter if she's insecure or not. These are her boundaries, and I want to honor that. And you can save that shit. Your opinion on how you feel about this doesn't matter because this isn't your marriage.
Yeah.
Okay.
What it boils down to is that she wants to prove that she will be chosen over anything else.
Right. That's exactly what it is.
That's exactly how I feel.
Okay.
I feel like I've earned a say in our marriage and with the kids. I mean, that happened the moment you guys said I do. We just transferred our IVF baby last week, which complicates things. I try my best to communicate to Z that one day I might hit my breaking point because the co-parenting feels like codependency, and that's not what I signed up for.
Do you feel that from Z or do you feel that from her?
No. And like that's something he didn't make clear in his. My 1 foot out the door is not to leave him. It's we got to pack up and leave this town.
Okay, that was on my list of questions.
Yeah. It's never been the issue that we have at hand. It's never been I'm going to leave him. He's like fantastic in every way. But like what I sacrificed to live down here, I'm the only one that suffers.
That's not true.
Yeah.
That's not true. I know that you feel that way, but look at your husband. That's not the case. He's going through this with you. You guys, you are one flesh. And I'm not going to get religious on you. When it comes down to it, you are a fucking team. It is not a sports, us versus them. It's not us versus each other. It's the two of you versus whatever the problem is. And if you are suffering, your husband is suffering with you. I can see it on his face. So though you are going through it and you might feel alone, lean on your husband. If you have faith, lean on your faith. You guys need to understand that you are not going to get through this divided, period. It's going to create a whole lot of tension and issues in you, and it's not going to end up in a successful marriage. So when you feel like that, if you do feel like that, tell him you feel like that so that he can ensure you that you guys are in this together. That when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, he's going to do anything that he can to try to make your marriage work. And if moving has to be the conversation that gets had, maybe that needs to be the conversation.
Yeah, and that's been a conversation, and he's.
Before she moved down here, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but before she moved down here, I got a job interview up there and almost got hired, and it was a conversation between both of us what would be a best fit for us. So, I'm not. If we have to move, that's something we have to do. I'm not against it.
Yeah, he's definitely agreed. If that's what has to happen. His kids were and they are little, and it was a lot easier for me and my son to move and to sacrifice what we had versus taking these kids' dad away from them essentially when he has them 50% of the time. And so now it's just is this going to get better? And if it doesn't, what are we going to do? Okay. But it's definitely a we. Okay. And I do know that. It took a long time to get there, but yeah.
Okay. Breathe, woman.
I am. That's just so much to process. There's so much fallout.
Yeah.
No matter what choice is chosen.
So let me hit you with this because of what you just said.
Okay.
You can live in fear for the next 18 years of your life.
Correct.
Or you can start taking actions to get in front of this and enjoy the next 15 years or 14 or 10, right? Because living in that fear of what if will freeze you and paralyze you into actively making a decision that could change your fucking life. This is why people stay in marriages that should end 6 or 7 years before they do, because they don't see an out. Or there's some bigger fear there that keeps them from actually stepping out the door or getting custody of their kids, or you know what I mean? Like that fear will cripple somebody. It'll cripple a lot of people, especially it's not the fear of action. It's the fear of unknowing.
Right.
What's going to actually happen if I take these steps? What's going to happen to my life? Because right now I'm living. It's not that bad. I have my kids part-time, or I'm not sleeping in my car. There's always that, I'm okay right now, and I've been worse, and I don't want to go back to that. So that fear is very crippling for people. So it is a lot to take in.
It is. I'm smothered. I live in a small town where she grew up. She works at the school across the street from us. I have to hear from her every single day. She is at every school or sport event, and I just feel like I don't have a single day to enjoy our little family together. Whether it's when we have the kids or when we don't. I'm a huge fan, and as is Z. I have watched and listened since episode 1, and our marriage has flourished since utilizing tools that you both have taught. I would be honored to sit down on a Zoom call, the four of us, and give you my perspective on some of the issues that we are dealing with in regards to co-parenting and boundaries. I need someone to tell me if I'm being insecure, if I'm being an insecure asshole, or if my feelings are valid and I need to communicate them.
I think D, all of the above minus the asshole part.
Yes.
It's okay to be insecure. Sometimes we fucking need reassurance from our person that we matter, right? Like depression is a thing. You can't control. I mean, you can. Choice theory. Read the book.
Yeah.
You can start taking steps to fix the depressive mind state. But sometimes fixing that depressive mind state is just getting reassurance. Validate the way that I'm feeling. You see that she's overstepping, right? Yeah, I see it. Okay, good. It's not just me. I'm not fucking crazy. That can be enough. Can you go back before she said she was a fan of the podcast? What was the sentences there?
Whether it's when we have the kids or when we don't.
Okay. So the answer to this is when she has the kids, unless there is an emergency.
No contact.
Little man broke his arm. We're going to the ER. Don't text. She has no reason to reach out to you guys when she has the kids unless there is an active emergency. That needs to be implemented.
He just told her that actually within the past couple of weeks.
Good. And what has it changed?
Yeah, I'd say so. She was, I think, upset at first. And I think doing it out of pettiness, I don't care, as long as she listens. But I think so now. It's just like, she just sent a picture tonight of his little girl that lost her first tooth. And I'm like, and he's like, does this upset you? And I'm like, no, this is great. Like, that's co-parenting. That's great. But, not every single day.
Right.
So yeah, he did have the conversation. And I told her, or I asked him to tell her if we could sit down, like us three. And, she said, well, I don't feel comfortable going over there, but you can come over here. And I don't know what we would have to talk about anyway. And I'm like, well, I don't want to really go into your house and talk either. So she agreed to meet at a mutual place. But since then, we transferred our IVF baby. So we've been busy, and I don't know if I'm subconsciously pushing it off and ignoring it, if I really actually want to sit down and have a conversation with her. But she's open to that.
I think it needs to happen, but there's not really a mutual place in this town to sit down. It's 20 degrees outside. We can't go out to the park or something.
Go to Denny's.
I offered to, we could even do a Zoom meeting or something with her. Just anything. I don't want her to think that I'm putting it off.
Okay. Why can't you guys go to a restaurant?
I mean, we could, I guess. It's just, I don't want to be in a
public setting. Maybe.
Kind of, everybody knows her and everybody knows him. And it's like, if we're sitting there spewing back and forth, then the whole town's going to know.
Right.
If that makes sense. And if I absolutely have to, I will just go over to her house. If that's her safe space, I'll give that to her. And it's just, I'm just going back and forth with if I actually want to have this conversation or not.
Having this conversation in a public setting could make it so that she has to mind her P's and Q's, because in the event that she gets a little off kilter and everyone sees that, she's going to lose credibility. So it's something to consider. If you guys have a Denny's or a Waffle House or Applebee's or whatever, do a dinner and do it at fucking rush hour, so that she has to be on her P's and Q's and conversation has to be civil.
Yeah, she's a really nice person. She's not confrontational. She's not like high conflict. She would never like sit and cuss me out or anything. But it's just like that manipulation thing. But she wouldn't. I know that the conversation would be civil. It's just, I don't know if I want the neighbor hearing what we're going through.
Right. Z, you said
but yeah,
but if that's what needs to happen, so be it.
Right. Z, you said you felt like this conversation needed to happen, that the sit down needed to be a thing. Why do you feel like it needs to be a thing?
I think we just need to be on the same page, everybody, and just lay everything out there, and so doesn't get lost in texts or phone calls of what needs to happen. I think we all need to sit down, get everyone's points of view and what we expect from one another and what upsets my wife, and just everything. I think it'll be more effective if we all sit down and have this conversation rather than, like I said, over a text or a phone call or something.
So in the event that you guys actually do this sit down, I would recommend bringing a notepad and making notes of everything that's discussed so that it's in writing, and then take a picture of it and text it to everybody so that everybody has an actual document of what's going on. I also would like to point out that Dakota said that you guys can go and have dinner in a town over away from where you're at. I don't know how small your town is, but every town has some sort of eatery that you can go to. I think that so if you're wanting to be a co-parent and you're happy being a bonus mom and doing all of this, there is going to be a happy medium. And if she doesn't like it, she doesn't have to, because when the kids are at your house, you're going to be the bonus mom. Whether she's on board with it or she has animosity or whatever the case may be, this is what your life is right now. So you don't need to worry so much about her feelings and the way that she feels about things. You need to focus on your marriage and what your household looks like. And Z, that goes the same thing for you. I know your plight. I've lived it, and it sucks to be in that position, but your fear of the unknown will cripple you. So if this means that you need to document everything through a court system, which I highly fucking recommend, if you guys have the financial ability to get a lawyer, get a fucking lawyer. Document everything. You said earlier that that you have 50-50 custody and that you're still paying for sports teams and all the other miscellaneous shit that she gives you. That's not how child support works. So if she's getting more from you right now than what she would get if you go to the route of child support, go the route of child support. And anything else that you give her is a gift. So at that point, if she oversteps and you don't want to do anything, you could be like, look, I've already given you $300 on top of what we've agreed on through the court system. I'm not doing that. You have it in writing. And at that point, you have a leg to stand on. It gets to the point where, like, there is no more fear of the unknown because your visitation rights will be solidified through a court system. She can't be like, you can't see your kids. Because if she violates those visitation rights, she will be in the one that's responsible for that. You will have legal repercussions. That goes a long fucking way. I hate lawyers. Real shit. I hate lawyers, but I have a lot of them because you never know when you're going to need something to be solidified.
He's here. Sorry, he went and checked on the kiddo.
Sorry.
I made a note, but now it doesn't make sense to me, so I'm just going to read it. I wrote on here, if she can't be a parent and you can, okay, I know why that came out. If you are the ones who are picking up the kids when they're sick because she can't miss work and she can't afford to take time off or whatever the case may be, she is not effectively being present as a parent. So if she is unable to be a parent and you guys are able to be parents, full custody might need to be explored. Maybe she needs to be the weekend warrior while you guys are parenting these children because you guys are in a position to do so where she's career oriented and her job means more than the children do. And that's what that sounded like to me. So full custody might be a thing. And the reason for that in the court system is that the children are a burden for her because she's not able to pick them up when they're sick. You guys are the ones who have to fucking rescue every single time something's going on, even when it's not your time frame. We've dealt with this. When there's an issue and it's his time to have the kids and he calls, we will step in and help because we co-parent really well. If this was not a mutual beneficial thing and it was us versus them and they called, I'd be like, we're not getting the kids. This is your fucking problem. I don't care that you have to miss work. We don't have that because we get along really well. Otherwise, I would be that guy. And I would be the one to step in at that point like, hey, you're fucking up my life because you can't get your shit together. Obviously, that's not how that would, that's not beneficial. Right. That would really create a lot of fucking problems. Mm-hmm. And I'm very grateful that that's not had to be the case because of what we have. But if this was the situation, I would be that guy. I would be that guy. So maybe the full custody thing might be a discussion that you guys want to have. Although you have a potential baby coming. So like, that's going to, 2 infants in the house at the same time could be a fucking nightmare.
Yeah, baby, she's now 3. She was 9 months when we first started dating, but she just turned 3.
Gotcha.
And yeah, it wasn't so much her not going to get the kids. She just expected that we would. She has called me and said, hey, so-and-so is sick. I told her teacher you'd be there within the hour. There was no question. She just volunteered me. And I do work from home, but I'm on, the phone with doctors and other nurses, and it's not easy to have crying kids in the house when you're doing this. So I think she thinks I maybe just sit at home and bake all day or something, but
Just entitlement.
we had
Bullshit again.
eventually we did say no, like you can go get her. Our income is important too. Z missed so much work the first year. Second year we started dating because it was like around a little bit after COVID, and if they'd get sick, they'd have to be home for 10 days. And guess who the kid stayed with so that the other parent could go to work? Us. And we have said something since. Nobody thankfully has been sick since, so I don't know how it will play out, but
Well, in the event that in the future you're volunteered and that's the way that it plays out, hey, so-and-so's sick, I told Miss whatever her name is that you're going to come get her, the response should be like, that's embarrassing. And when she goes, why is that embarrassing? Be like, because you just gave false information. I'm not going to pick up the kids. You just assumed that was going to be the case. I have things going on. This is a you problem. You need to figure it out. And it needs to be aggressive, because that aggression will let her know that you're not doing this anymore. And you don't have to do that all the time. I really believe that when you put your foot down in a fuck you manner and like an assertive manner 2 or 3 times, people realize that you're not going to get stepped on anymore. And this goes across the board in all scenarios. You ever watch those TikToks where like the people at work are getting scared? We watch them all the time because I fucking love those TikToks. All it would take is one of those scared people to stop one of those people in the hallway and be like, hey, I know you think that shit's funny, but don't fucking do that anymore. And then walk away. 2 or 3 times of that, it's going to stop, especially if they scare and you get right next to them. You're going to feel my breath on your face. You're going to smell my dinner last night. Like, that shit stops. People don't like to be put in a position where they feel vulnerable or afraid or they're not safe. And when you're scaring someone like that all the time, they're being scared like that because they don't feel safe, or in the moment they're not prepared for those things. But
yeah, my last text to her about everything was very aggressive. It wasn't mean, but it was very straightforward. And I don't like confrontation either, but when you're backed into a corner, that's, you're forced to. And I was very aggressive, and of course she didn't write back, but that was the last that I spoke to her. And I'm sure it was because of the aggression behind the text.
There's nothing wrong with that. So being that things have already kind of solidified, and we just read this email knowing that you guys have kind of already worked through things, are there things now that's happening that you want to, like, while you have us talk about?
Hold on. I do want to make it clear. After I had my son, I never wanted another baby. I was just in survival mode, raising him by myself. I was a surrogate 3 times, and I was happy to give those babies away. That's how much I didn't want a baby. But then being with him and seeing like what a fantastic dad he was and how much I enjoyed his kids and a full house, I longed to have a baby with him, not on my own, but we tried for over a year now. And that's when we, obviously had to do IVF. So my therapist saying a baby would definitely help, that was not formatted correctly. We want one so bad. We tried, we had a loss. But we think that a baby in this would kind of make me feel more comfortable or important, or that's not why we're having the baby, but the baby will help.
It'll be a side effect
the
of the
baby will
baby.
help us.
Zach, Z, how does that make you feel knowing that she wants to have a child with you because of the man you are?
I mean, it makes me feel great, that's one thing no one could take away from you is how good of a dad you are, and that's what I strive to be. My dad got sick when I was young, and he passed away when I was young, so I kind of had to figure everything out myself.
I get that.
My mom did her best, but we lost our house. I had to live with friends in high school, so it feels really good. It does.
That's an honor. That's such an honor, like a good thing for a man to hear. Peaches tells me every day how good I am with the kids. Before we sat down on this live stream, she said, thank you for the life that you've provided. You're such a good dad to these kids. And I've gotten a lot of text messages from her today because she's got her foot up on a fucking roller thing because she hurt her ankle, but I was literally running around the yard today chasing after a 4 and a 5-year-old on quads, and I am trying to do the best that I can. And it is such a fucking good feeling to see or to have that. This is where that recognition comes in, right? You want that recognition, just like you want to feel like you're respected. You deserve that respect. I don't feel like I deserve anything, but having the recognition goes a long way. I can see the way that you guys look at each other. And when you guys are having these hard conversations, these are the times that you need to remember. M says, I want a baby with this man because of the man that he is. Like that is that's a blessing. Like that's such a, I would be proud to hear things like that. These are the things that you guys need to focus on when you are having conflict. These are the conversations that Peaches and I have when we are having disruptions. I love you and I don't want to talk to you like that. We remember why we love each other. This is why we don't have big blow-ups. It's never you and I versus each other, ever. It's how do we solve this problem? And that's where you guys are at. And it sounds like you've solved a lot of the problems. Hearing that he felt like you had one foot out the door, whether it was to move or to leave, that's the way he worded that. And that's how he felt. So if it was to move, that's different than leaving. But if he felt like you had one foot out the door, there was a miscommunication there. That breaks. If Peaches was to tell me like I don't know if I can do this and left it at that, I would go into full abandonment. I would think that she's leaving, that I failed my wife, that I failed as a bonus dad, that I'm not going to be able to maintain my marriage. Like that would break me, and I don't know how I would bounce back from that. So,
yeah, I definitely felt like she was leaving me like we were done. I did.
Yeah. And he does, I'm in the beginning of our relationship, when he was drinking more, things happened that I just straight up told him I wouldn't tolerate and I wouldn't expose my son to. And that's not, who I waited 6 years to date, let alone marry. I made it very clear. And that if it continued, that I was leaving. I hate to use that as a threat, but I made my boundaries very clear with that. And every day he's just gotten better and better and better and better. And so, but because of that, now he thinks that the smallest argument or disagreement that I'm just going to pack up and go. And that's my fault for threatening it. But he definitely, has a tendency to walk on eggshells around me because he doesn't want to upset me, because he doesn't want to feel like I'm just going to leave him. Yeah. Well, and it's really sad. It's something we're really trying to work through.
Well, you planted the seed by doing this. This is why we don't talk about divorce. It's not a conversation for us. However, you setting a boundary and that boundary being overstepped, the conversation for anybody that is dealing with that is not, I'm going to leave you if you do this again. The conversation is, hey, this is one of my boundaries and you're overstepping those boundaries. And if it continues to happen, we may have to reevaluate things. Because at that point, you're not saying I'm going to leave. The reevaluate things could mean a whole lot of things. It's open to interpretation, and that could be a threat. Some people may take it that way, but you're not putting it in terms where it's a definitive, I'm going to leave you. However, you doing that to him made him fucking change. So maybe there needs to be another conversation, maybe during a check-in, like, hey, you just didn't respect my boundaries. I'm not fucking going anywhere. You've shown me that you are a man of integrity by not continuously overstepping. You respect me, and I know that, so I'm not going anywhere. Like, you need to give that reassurance and dig that seed up so that it doesn't root in his brain. This is healthy communication. So we need that. Men need that. I know that we're supposed to be stoic and invincible and wear the armor and slay dragons, but we do that because we want to be loved. And if we're not being loved and we don't believe that we're going to get the girl at the end of the day, why the fuck are we slaying dragons? Right? Like that's us. You guys have your own fairy tales of getting the man and Prince Charming, and we're going to fucking war to get you. You know what I mean? Like we have to have a reason to go to war. So we're way past an hour.
Yeah. Yes, we are.
This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was different.
Yeah, I appreciate your guys' perspective so much. It's been hard for sure, but yeah, every day we're just trying to get through it.
Can you guys send us a follow-up email in like 2 weeks and let us know how things are going?
I would love to, yes.
Okay. Are you guys good with us putting this onto an actual podcast episode? There's a lot of good information here.
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
Please.
Okay. You have
I told her we could get the ex on here for a Zoom call too.
Oh yeah, he said he'd get the ex-wife on for a Zoom call, and I'm like, I don't think so.
I would have fun with that.
I don't know.
Do you have anything you want to add, Hotness? There's a lot.
There's a lot.
It's
All right.
a lot.
I hope that we gave you guys some sort of comfort or answers. I feel like you guys already kind of resolved this by the time that we got to your call, but hopefully there's some sort of insights or value from it. We didn't just, waste 2 hours of everyone's time.
No, I took away a lot.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate everything.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and end the Zoom so that we can wrap things up. You guys, thank you for putting your story out there. We appreciate it.
Thank you guys. Have a good night.
You too. All right. Zoom is ended. What do you think about that, woman?
That was a lot.
It was a lot. It was fun. Mm-hmm. You know what I just realized?
What?
Do you remember that trip to the botanical garden?
The very first one?
We're going to Zoom call and coach people and help them work through relationship problems. That came into fruition today.
It did.
It was a win.
That was a year ago.
It was. It was over a year ago.
Yeah.
A little victory.
It is.
I feel good about it.
Yeah. I'm hungry.
Me too. We were supposed to order chili cheese fries, and had I known it was going to be 2 hours, I'd be like, order it.
Yeah.
Oh, man. All right. Guys, thank you for listening. I know there's still 72 people in here. I hope that was some sort of value for you guys. If you're listening to this podcast on Spotify or Apple or whatever your streaming service is, know that this is a service that we are offering to patrons, and it is only for our Patreon community. We do these live streams on Patreon on Sunday nights after our YouTube live stream. And if you would like to be a part of that, you can send an email stating that you're a patron and that you would like to do a Zoom call. And the Wizards, our amazing team, Jenny and Zach, would be able to correlate that. I would like to say thank you to the two of them and the other mods. You guys really held down the fort while we were on vacation, and we wouldn't be able to do this without you guys. That's really what it comes down to. I actually pray for you guys all the time. I know that the To Be Better community is here for us, but the mods and Zach and Jenny specifically, like, this community would not be this community without the two of them. So thank you guys so much for that. We really, truly love you guys. You got anything you want to add, or you want to just go get some chili cheese fries?
No, I think you nailed that.
All right. Well, guys, with that being said, we will see you on the next one.
Good night, guys.